Morning, sir. Morning,
sir.
Morning, Jim.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir. Morning, Hollis.
Oh, good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's failing to stop after an accident.
Well, he sort of stopped, but then he drove off again before I could say anything.
Yeah, that is failing to stop after an accident, sir. Did you happen to get his number at all?
I didn't get the chance.
Well, look, if you'd kindly fill out this form here, and here, and here, and I'll get an accident book.
Duty state, Hollis?
Actually, Inspector Monroe did check it at the start of the early, sir.
Yes, I'm sure he did. No, I'm checking.
Oh, yes, sir.
Property phone book, please, as well.
Oh, that is always kept up there.
Thank you. I'll let you have them back within the hour.
Oh, thank you, sir. Now then, sir, would you like some help with it?
Well, I'm seeing all the inspectors over the next couple of days, morning.
Where's that?
Starting with Andrew, if I can catch him before he comes off shift, so be about with him.
And what's this about?
Well, just a general tightening of standards, you know, duty state, property phone book, you name it. Things are not exactly what they should be.
Mr. Munro's quite thorough, isn't he? I mean, if you're going to single anyone out, I'd have thought they're guilty.
Bob, you and I both know who's responsible. But if I don't read the right act to all of them, the guilty ones will start bleating about victimisation, like kids with sweets.
Well, I can't say that, can I?
Oh, well, that's why I want you about. When the others start complaining, you can tell them it's not personal, right?
Look, I'm just trying to do you both a favour, right?
Yeah, well, thanks for the advice, Reg, but I ain't done nothing out of order.
You don't have to, do you? Look, he's been having a nose around, right? It's obvious he's about to have a pop.
Customer, Rich.
Yeah, just a tea, Squire. Look, he has a go at Monroe, Monroe has a go at us, right? It's a pecking order. Be warned.
If Marilyn passes any of the excrement in my direction, I am passing it back. And I'm seeing Bob cry. He'll stick the knife in if it's needed.
You won't get anywhere with him. He's playing a different game now, isn't he? Yeah, all right, mate. Oh, dear. Look, I better sort this. Look, watch your backs, right? And pass it round. Yeah. Now then, sir. You have a problem, do we, sir?
No problem. I have an appointment with Mr. Brownlow.
Yeah, what's your name, please, sir?
Alan Fuller.
Is the last bloke you expect as Fed rep when you think about it?
Oh, I don't know. He pokes his nose into enough unwanted places, doesn't he?
I mean, what's he going about the property book for? I ain't even seen Munro today.
He didn't say the property book.
Weren't you listening?
I thought he said the duty state.
Well, what's up?
I've got to go back to the section house.
What?
You remember that disco we got in last week because Reg's record player packed up? For the party, yeah? Well, I borrowed it.
Not the one from the...
Yeah, the one from the...
You Burke.
But you were supposed to be sorting out the music. I was sorting the nurses. Now, what happened to your contribution, eh?
I told you...
I had to get something in, didn't I?
George, calm down.
I've got to ditch it, haven't I?
I don't think that's a good idea, George. If I were you, just put it back.
If you'd like to wait in his office.
Fine.
I'm sorry for the delay. He shouldn't be much longer.
Thank you.
You got something to do, Hollis?
Oh, yes, I have.
Good. Mr. Fuller.
Alan Fuller. Thanks for agreeing to see me.
That's all right. If you, could come straight to the point, I'd be obliged. Only I've a rather hectic schedule to get through.
Of course. Well, as you know, I'm leading an investigation into allegations of corruption within the Metropolitan Police. Now, as far as I or anyone else is concerned, this conversation is entirely informal. Obviously, if I didn't think you could help me, I wouldn't be here.
We are talking about events that took place 16 years ago, aren't we?
17, to be exact. May to October 1974.
I stand corrected.
I did notice one or two of the newspapers mistook the date.
I must read the wrong ones.
Look, if it'll help put you at your ease, you do understand...
I understand that I'm personally not the subject of this inquiry, yes. Would you like a coffee?
Thank you. At the time the alleged incidents took place, you were a detective constable in the CID stationed at Hillingdon.
Yes?
A position you held for just over 2 years, from November 73 to January 76.
Yes?
What made you go back to uniform?
Is that relevant?
Well, it just interests me that a detective with as much promise as you evidently possessed should decide against a career in CID.
I decided I was temperamentally better suited to uniform.
Even though you could...
Look, I think my present rank is proof enough that I made the right career decision, don't you?
Oh, I don't doubt the wisdom of the move, at least not in the long term. Let's talk about the Robinson murders. You remember the case?
Aspects of it, yes. I only had a peripheral role in the inquiry.
And what was your role, exactly?
Well, I was one of the first police officers called to Denham Avenue, to the scene. I was night duty CID at the time.
So you did what you could to make sure the area was secure and sterile. Contacted Forensic and Socco and got the DI out of bed and basically left as much as you could to him.
I carried out my duties in full as the first CID officer on the scene.
Yes, quite. But the DI arrived that night, May the 5th, 1974, and looked after things from there.
Yes.
Detective Inspector Peter Mowbray. You remember his two associates on the case? Detective Sergeant Ian Henderson and Detective Constable John Davis?
Yes. Yes, I remember.
Of course you'll remember, or you'll have read, that within 6 days of the murders, 2 brothers, Colin and Douglas Wilson, were charged and later convicted. Sentenced to life in October 74. Still inside. And now serious questions are being raised about Inspector Mowbray's conduct of the case.
Yes, well, I don't have an opinion about that, I'm afraid.
No? Well, there are plenty of people outside the job who do have opinions about what Mowbray was up to. The DPP, the Court of Appeal, journalists, MPs, you name it. Of course, Peter Mowbray doesn't have an opinion now either. You do know he's dead.
Yes, I had heard.
So whatever happens as a result of this inquiry, at least Mowbray's beyond worrying.
If you don't mind me saying so, that's a very cynical remark to make.
You haven't read the files.
He's unable to defend himself.
You could say that. But one way or the other, dead or alive, I wouldn't fancy Peter Mowbray's chances.
Ch.Supt okay, is he?
Do what?
I mean, in himself, you know. He's not looking off colour recently or anything.
Reg, I'm the duty sergeant, not his GP.
I turned a white shade of pale myself when I saw that bloke, Fuller. He's internal investigations, isn't he? South Yorkshire.
I'm someone else.
No, I read about it in here somewhere. Oh, no. Where is last month's copy of the police review? Hello.
I gather the Ch.Supt was gunning for the relief inspectors, isn't it?
Yeah, if you've got a minute. It's been binned.
In May 1974, you were assigned to an investigation with D.S. Rutherford. Can you tell me about that?
It was a long-haul fraud case. It took several months to complete.
Did you see much of Mowbray, Henderson or Davis at that time?
Well, Mowbray was my DI, so naturally I liaised with him. As you know, I was otherwise engaged.
Hillingdon was being refurbished around then, wasn't it?
May have been.
Requiring CID to relocate office space to porter cabins. You shared one with Mowbray, Henderson and Davis.
I can't remember the exact date, but...
May to July 1974. So you did see quite a lot of them.
I've just told you I was working on another case.
Yes, but you were also living at the section house at that time, weren't you?
Yes. Yes, that's just before I got married.
Davis was also at the section house. In fact, he had a room next to yours.
Only for about 6 weeks.
8. John Davis was your friend, Mr. Brownlow, isn't that right?
Yes.
You still in touch with him?
Yes, John still is a very good friend of mine.
You see, with Mowbray dead, things could be much more difficult for him and Henderson.
What are you talking about, difficult?
Well, they get accused of wrongly imprisoning 2 men for 17 years. We have an inquiry and say, yes, we have the man responsible. Unfortunately, he's dead. You do understand that all I'm trying to do is make sure your friend, Davis, comes out of this in one piece.
Traffic cones.
Do what?
Why could someone picking some up?
No, don't say you're picking up traffic cones.
Well, what's wrong with picking up traffic cones? It's a perfectly
George,
good...
who's going to ask? Now, look, you've already got the van booked out.
Yeah, son. Something serious going on upstairs.
Yeah, we heard. Thanks for letting us know, Rich.
Oh, you seen him then, Fuller?
Who?
Alan Fuller. He's up there now with a big white chief. And that's got to be trouble.
Leave it out, Rich.
Mowbray must have been unapproachable to a young DC like yourself. Davis was your friend, and yet you never discussed it with him.
No, not really.
Why not? I mean, there must have been a reason. A murder like that doesn't happen every day, thank God. Derek Robinson and his grandson, Simon, surprised 2 burglars who blew them away in cold blood, stealing what they could find, trinkets and money. I remember the headlines myself. I remember the feelings of outrage and horror. You must have been closer to it than anyone. You saw the bodies.
Well, I'm inclined to cut myself off from things like that. I was just grateful not to be involved any further.
So you never gave it any thought? Not even a casual, how's it going, over a pint?
No, not a casual anything. None of the people I worked with took murder casually.
No? All right. But when news went round the station that 2 men had been arrested,
I probably expressed my feelings of relief together with a lot of other people.
Oh, come on. They were cracking open the scotch. These men had been hunted down and put behind bars where they belonged. Why not have a celebration? But all you did was express your feelings of relief.
All right, I probably had a couple of drinks, but that's all. I left early.
Why?
Because I just got engaged to be married.
It had nothing to do with the fact that the Wilson brothers were crying fit up, but they were doing that from the word go, weren't they?
Perhaps.
No perhaps about it. They were. Never occurred to you that they might have been telling the truth?
No, it didn't. Why should it?
Because a lot of other people said they had their doubts at the time. I just wondered
Look,
whether...
the Wilson brothers were known criminals. They had convictions for burglary, for armed robbery. They were inept at it, useless. That's why the last burglary went so tragically wrong.
Yes, but they weren't just unprofessional, were they? I mean, the younger brother, Douglas, was a schizophrenic, educationally subnormal.
He pulled the trigger on the boy.
According to the confession he signed, but Douglas Wilson could hardly write his own name. Up until that point...
Up to that point, he was lying. He and his brother had cooked up a story and they were feeding it to us.
Well, that's an interesting choice of word. Us, for someone unconnected with the case.
I am not on trial.
Morning, Dave.
Hello, sir.
All right, let's have a look.
All right, Sergeant.
Look, if things have gone missing from here, I'm going to have to bang a few heads. If I track down who it is. Mr. Brownlow must know something. He's already on a warpath. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. We'll see what we can find.
There's more than a slap wrist for whoever did it.
Yeah, keep it to yourself, huh?
Mowbray conducted the interviews. Davis and Henderson were also present, but on different days. The three worked closely together throughout.
I believe so.
Now, according to most people, Mowbray was swaggering in and out of the canteen, talking openly about the Wilsons getting what they deserved.
He believed they did it.
You'll admit, then, that you heard Mowbray saying that?
I don't recall it, no.
The evidence at the trial was remarkably slim. Do you remember? The cartridges that killed the old man and the boy couldn't be precisely matched to the shotgun found at the Wilsons' flat. It was thought probable they came from the same weapon. Most of the case rested on the signed confessions and some very dodgy forensic Mowbray had collected. But the Wilsons were due, according to Mowbray. They were ready for one. They fitted.
It wasn't like that.
What do you mean?
You didn't know it.
Oh, obviously Mowbray was a charismatic figure. I found that much out. An old-school copper and a popular man.
Yes.
And he produced a lot of first-rate detectives. Your friend Davis, for example, has a lot to thank him for.
In what way?
Well, he left Mowbray behind, didn't he? And you, if you'll forgive me saying so. DC at Hillingdon, DS at West End Central, Fraud Squad, SO 13, Detective Chief Superintendent, Commander, ACC. Not bad. Not bad for someone with fewer prospects than yourself.
I don't think that's a very accurate assessment.
Oh, I do. You see, I've been trying to work out what it is you're keeping from me. And the longer you persist in defending Mowbray, the worse you're making things for Davis, yet you say he's your friend. You got something against him? Do you resent his promotion? Is that what it is?
No, I do not. I repeat, I was and am unaware of any grounds for these allegations.
You know how far my inquiries have advanced, Mr. Brownlow. It's gone beyond general impressions of Mowbray's behaviour, his style of management. Electrostatic detection on the confessions, for instance. It was one of the first things I had implemented. The results came through earlier this week. He never knew about the trick with a piece of formica, Mowbray, did he? Under the sheet of paper. If you're going to add to the confession after it's been signed, it pays not to leave a calling card. Of course, nobody knew that in 1974. The test hadn't been developed then.
Are you saying that somebody tampered with the confessions?
That is what I'm saying, yes.
Look, we're running a bit late. Could you put all my appointments back a few hours?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, sir, you will be able to see Inspector Monroe around 2, only he's staying on after the early shift.
Well, you get Mr. Conway to deal with that, will you? Get him to talk to Bob Cry. He can brief him.
Yes, sir.
I'm not having it. If he wants a general clampdown, then fine. I'd be the first to agree with that.
Well, that's all it is, isn't it?
Not according to my book. Garfield?
Yes, sir.
I'm the first he wants to see. Just look over the fence at one or two of the others. See relief for a start.
A word to the wise.
I've got enough on my plate without wasting time on petty witch hunts. I'll be lucky if I can get to see him at 2 anyway at this rate.
Tone.
What?
Over here.
Yes.
Urgent assistance required.
What?
Tony, I need your help.
Hang on a minute. Here's a copy of the lab report, which shows what was added. Pages 2 and 3 were written on a separate pad and inserted later. Oh, and this little touch at the end. In his original statement, Wilson said, "I never saw the boy." But this was doctored to read, "I never saw the boy again."
This is so crude, it's amateurish.
Well, Lord Justice Clark made a lot of that last remark in his summing up. An example of the Wilson's callous disregard for human life. If you remember, he said he regretted the death penalty was no longer available.
Yes, but even so.
Oh, come on, you know what a good prosecution brief can do with a sympathetic judge.
Yeah, but this wasn't Mowbray's style at all. If didn't enter into it. He just wouldn't take chances.
That's not the impression I get of the man.
Well, like I say, you didn't know him.
Well, I will admit I haven't had that privilege.
Look, he wasn't careless, he was meticulous, and he was thorough.
Overconfidence. He'd won enough cases. He was getting cocky.
Look, he may have been one of the boys in a big gung-ho, but he certainly wasn't stupid.
He was corrupt!
If Peter Mowbray had altered the statements, he would have done so because deep down, he felt that the Wilsons had to go the distance, because he knew they were guilty. This... that's not the work of the man I knew. If Peter Mowbray had tampered with the statement, you wouldn't know about it. Nobody would.
He had 48 hours to get that to the DPP.
Well, he would have done something about it. He would have stalled anything.
48 hours from the 11th of May?
48 hours from the 11th of May, 1974.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't Peter Mowbray then, because Peter Mowbray was with me.
Listen, George, if anyone gets wind of
Yeah,
this...
I know.
Do you think you'll be better off admitting defeat? All right, you get carpeted, so what? It's just a bit of bad luck, isn't it?
It's not that simple.
Look, George, you might like a
But it won't be a
complicated
bollocking I get, it's going to be a fine.
So, you win some, you lose some.
Look, I owe 200 quid to the bank. I owe me mum over a ton. I can't sell the car unless I get together 350 quid for a clutch and 4 new tyres.
You're joking.
At last.
What's all this about then, eh?
You took your time.
So?
Right, say nothing. We are shifting this lot back to the property store and you are lookout.
Oh, you're never going to get that lot back in a property store.
The property officer's on his dinner break. He's left the keys on Munro's desk and Munro is out on a death, right?
You have been a naughty boy.
But you can shut it, Quinnan. If I hadn't done you a favour in the first place, none of this would have happened.
Look,
You want to sort out the music in the first place,
right?
wouldn't you?
Look, you help create this mess, you can help sort it, right? Go on, get up there. Come on, George.
So careful, don't spill it.
The night the Wilson brothers were arrested, I had a drink with Mowbray, John, and the others. Like I say, I'd just become engaged to be married, and John Davis, well, John was going to be my best man. Anyway, after we had a few drinks, he made the announcement in the CID office. He and I were due to go to Suffolk. Marjorie's parents had arranged an engagement party. I mean, I wasn't that keen to go, but anyway, I finished up inviting about 4 of the others.
Who?
Well, there was Mowbray, Rutherford, Henderson, and John.
Only
John.
what?
Well, only John didn't come. He stayed behind in the office. He said he'd got things to finish off. I mean, it didn't matter. I was obviously going to see him at the wedding.
Can you verify all that?
Well, I can verify that Mowbray was with me at the time the alleged alterations to the statement took place, yes.
And that John Davis was left alone in the office?
Yeah. I must have been him. I'll explain everything. It's the work of a novice. It'll also explain why there was an unholy row when we got back.
What, between Mowbray and Davis?
Yes, I mean, Mowbray must have known, but he would never have approved of the way it was done.
This was meant to be a damage limitation exercise.
That's why I can't help that.
John Davis was a friend of yours. You say he still is?
Yes, we still keep in very close contact. Our children are the same ages. We sometimes go on holiday together. In fact, we were due to go over and see them this weekend.
What? He arranged that, did he?
Yes. Yes, rather short notice. I suppose he must have known there was something in the wind.
Davis is one of the finest police officers in the country. He could even make commissioner.
I've always thought so. Look, this has come as a shock to me as well, you know.
Well, this won't do much for false credibility, will it?
Pardon me, Mr. Fuller. I thought it was the truth you wanted.
Of course. If you think you can live with it.
Let's go. I wouldn't have minded so much, except nobody even gave me any money for the poxy party.
Yes, gentlemen. Explain yourself, can you?
We...
Queenan, I told you not to hang around like a spare jockstrap. Now, on your bike. Carry on.
I borrowed it, sir,
Yeah?
for a party at the section house. I'm sorry, sir.
You will be. You got anything to say?
I asked George to help me put it back, sir, when I heard that the property store was being checked. It's entirely my fault, sir.
Right, you and me are going to see the chief super.
I don't think that's necessary.
Don't argue, Stamp. 2 o'clock sharp, my office. Got it?
Sir.
What will you do now?
Go back to Sheffield, put it all together. Probably start a lot of it over again. You say the duty officer would remember Davis being there?
Inspector Valance, yes. Where does this leave me?
I'm going to have to ask you to testify to what you've told me. Are you prepared to do that?
Yes, I am.
We may not like this, Charles, but it's something we have to do. Purging ourselves in front of the general public. Even if it means walking over a man's grave or dismantling a man's career.
I always admired them both, you know. Looked up to them.
Evidently. Funny how close heroes are to villains sometimes, isn't it? Well, you can rest assured this won't have done you any harm. Quite the reverse. It looks like that in the race between you and John Davis, you got there in the end.
It wasn't a race.
No?
No.
Well, perhaps if it ever was, you dropped out of it when you turned your back on CID. Must have been different then.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't really fit in. I didn't have the confidence, or at least that's what people used to say.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Come in. Yes, Marion.
Got a Mr. Davis on the other line. He wants to speak to you about arrangements for the weekend.
Oh, right. Right, well, you'd better put him through.
Right, sir.